Have you been trying intermittent fasting and it just doesn't seem to be working very well? Maybe you were really excited to try it, to lose a few pounds because you've heard about how amazing it is, but then you gave it a go and you just didn't lose anything. Or maybe you tried it and you hated it so much you just couldn't stick with it. If you've experienced any of those problems, then you may be making one of the 5 common intermittent fasting mistakes that beginners often make. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about all of these mistakes and also tell you what to do instead so that you can actually have success with intermittent fasting. So if you're new to me, I'm Kim Foster and I'm an MD and a wellness coach. And I have personally had a ton of success with intermittent fasting and I absolutely love it. If you want to hear more about how I got started with intermittent fasting and how you can get started too, then you will want to check out this video that I uploaded a couple of months ago, and that will give you, all the background and a starting point. But in today's video, we're going to talk about where people can go wrong with intermittent fasting and what mistakes you might be making. So the first mistake is starting off too drastically with intermittent fasting. Starting off too drastically is one of the most common mistakes that I see. When people leap straight into intermittent fasting, it can be a recipe for disaster. If you're really accustomed to eating 3 regular meals, or even worse, eating constantly through the day, all day, and then you suddenly jump to a very tight 6 or 4 hour feeding window, that can be very difficult for your body and your mind to adjust to. It's just not a good idea. Instead, I recommend that you ease into fasting and take it nice and gradual. Ultimately, you might be interested in trying the 16-8 method, which is what I do. And what I mean by that is that you eat during an 8-hour window and then you have 16 hours of fasting. But you don't necessarily want to jump right into that. An easy way to work your way there is to just slowly extend the time between when you wake up and when you eat your first meal until you've got something close to a 12-hour fasting window. From there, you can then gradually reduce your feeding window down to 8 hours by stopping earlier in the evening and starting eating later in the morning, just bit by bit until you get to that 8-hour window. The bottom line here is don't try to do it all at once. Okay, the second common mistake is eating the wrong foods in your feeding window. So let's say that you have successfully shifted your eating pattern so that you've got yourself on a 16-8 pattern. But if during those 8 hours of feeding, if you're making the mistake of eating all the wrong foods, you're just sabotaging your own results. One of the things that I like about intermittent fasting, that it's not a strict diet in the typical sense of the word with a list of foods that you can eat and things that you can't eat and all kinds of restrictions. It's much more flexible than that. And it does allow you to actually enjoy eating and enjoy your food. But all that said, if you do fill your feeding window with a whole bunch of highly processed, sugary, and nutrient poor foods, then you're not going to feel very well. So my recommendation is to aim to eat nutrient-dense whole foods as much as possible. So we're talking about high quality proteins and healthy fats, nuts, legumes, whole grains, and plenty of fresh veggies and fruit. One of the best ways to ensure that you're in control of this is to cook and eat at home more often instead of eating out in restaurants and ordering takeout. Watch your sodium intake and beware of hidden sugars and avoid processed foods and aim to cook whole foods instead. All right, mistake number 3 is a sneaky one, and it's when people unknowingly break their fast. So you can have every intention of maintaining your fast until your feeding window begins, and you might think that you're not actually eating anything, but here are some surprising things that can inadvertently end your fast and cause an insulin response, which is definitely what you're trying to avoid. So some vitamins, like gummy vitamins, they actually contain sugar and fat. Some supplements contain additives like maltodextrin and pectin that can also break your fast. And some pain relievers like Advil, they can have sugar in the coating. Now, there are some different opinions here, and some people feel that you can actually get away with a small amount of calories during your fast, especially if it's just fat like butter or coffee cream or something, and they'll tell you that it's actually okay, it won't break your fast. But I actually personally noticed a big difference when I shifted from having just a drop of cream in my coffee to having it totally black. So I decided to make the change because I had noticed a plateau and I wondered if maybe that tiny bit of cream was messing with things. So I tried tried having black coffee for 2 weeks without making any other changes, and it completely shifted me out of that plateau. Okay, so the next mistake is this: not drinking enough when fasting. It's incredibly important to stay hydrated when you're fasting. This is one of the key things that will get you through your fasting window with ease and without hunger. The thing is, when you're fasting, your it's not taking in the water that would be consumed with food. And that means that you can get some side effects of that relative dehydration. Symptoms like headaches and muscle cramps and intense feelings of hunger can quickly appear if you allow yourself to become dehydrated. So, to avoid this mistake and sail through your fasting periods with ease, you want to make sure that you're drinking plenty of plain water during your fast. You can also drink black coffee, as we just talked about, and also black herbal or green tea, no milk or sugar added. I also like drinking sparkling mineral water during my fast, so feel free to give that a try too. All right, the final mistake is also something that people don't do when they're fasting, but that they should be doing, and it's not exercising when fasting. So a lot of new intermittent fasters are really worried about exercising when they're fasting, and they think that they shouldn't be exercising if they haven't had something else to eat first, like a pre-workout snack. But the truth is, it's actually the ideal time to exercise when you're in a fasting window. When you exercise during a fast, that actually helps you to use up stored fat. Also, human growth hormone is increased as you exercise, and that helps you to build muscle. However, do make sure that you stay very well hydrated during your workout. That becomes even more important here. And make sure that you listen to your body's signals. If you feel weak or lightheaded, take a break or just end your workout. Before I tried intermittent fasting, I thought that there would be no way that I could exercise during fasting. I thought that I wouldn't have any energy and I'd be totally exhausted. But I actually found the opposite is true. In the morning when I'm fasting, I feel clear-headed and energized, not weighed down by a whole bunch of food. And that is the perfect time to go out for a run. It feels great, and I know that I'm optimizing everything by exercising when I'm fasted. So I love it. Okay, so there you have it. The 5 common mistakes are starting off too drastically, eating the wrong foods during your feeding window, unknowingly breaking your fast, not drinking enough water during your fast, and not exercising during your fast. Now, if you are ready to learn a bit more about intermittent fasting and to decide whether it's right for you or not, I invite you to download my free guide with my top 10 intermittent fasting tips. You can download that PDF for free just by clicking the link in the description box. Now, just a little reminder that if you are considering giving intermittent fasting a try, it's very important to talk to your own healthcare provider first. As I always say, yes, I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. It's really important to loop your own healthcare team in on the plan and have them give you that green light first, because they know all of the important details about your own unique medical situation. Okay, that's a wrap for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you again soon.